Welcome to Pario magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today I'm joined by two members of the creative team behind the upcoming rock wrestling musical, Dubbo Championship Wrestling. Welcome to Pario magazine, Daniel Cullen and Sheridan Harbridge.
How's it going?
How's everything going in the lead up to the show so far?
It's wild. I mean, it's we need the quadruple threat. We need performers who can sing, dance, act, and wrestle. And finding them has been a big challenge, but we've got an amazing group of people. And now we're in the rehearsal room, smashing them round in a ring, and then making them stand up and sing beautiful 8-part harmonies. It's going great.
So, how did the idea for Dubbo Championship Wrestling sort of first come about?
Yeah, so I've been a wrestling fan all my life. First show I went to was like when I was 13 at the Manly Leagues Club, and I remember one of the wrestlers got smacked over the head with a computer keyboard, and the letters went flying into the crowd, and we all got to take home a little letter home as a souvenir. It's like it grabs you early, wrestling. I've been a fan ever since, and I also just love musicals. And with writing musicals, like you need to choose something that you don't mind. They take like so long to write that you need to choose something that you don't mind spending 5 years with, of just researching, watching, and you can still enjoy it. And that's what wrestling is to me. So I think they're in many ways a good combination, and there's a lot of overlap between them that you wouldn't expect necessarily.
And then for you, Sheridan, when did you first hear about the script and what made you want to be involved in this show?
Well, Dan was sort of almost won a competition that the Hayes used to run, where people could pitch shows, and Dan got to the final stages of that, and I was brought in as sort of a mentor and a dramaturg to help bring the script along. And I knew nothing about wrestling, but what I do know is musicals, and what I do know is country towns, because I am from a town just like Dubbo. So I thought we were sort of a good fit. He had the wrestling knowledge, I had the Bogan town knowledge, and together we both have a great love of musicals and Australian musicals. We both had a very shared history of loving the musical Keating, which is just a wonderful Aussie work that was so successful and uniquely Australian in its rendering of what a musical is, because I do think we have a different flavour to what is built on Broadway and what's built on the West End. I think we're a bit more cabaret and a bit more rock and roll. And Dan's show was definitely leaning in that way, and it was really fun to encourage him to go all the way with that, of just like rock, like Aussie pub rock show, plus the sort of beautiful finesse that music theatre ends up having. So yeah, I think it's been 4 years now that I've been working with Dan on it.
Have you sort of found a love for wrestling similar to Dan's by being involved?
I've gone down such a weird hole. At like 1 a.m, I'll just start texting Dan things of going like, I just, saw a man smash a meat pie. It's just, what am I watching? Yeah, I've gone to the full. I'm sort of. I wish now I had it in my childhood. Had never seen anything. I just thought it was. I was a real naysayer. I just thought it was quite silly, and now I still think it's quite silly, and I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, like quite early in the process, I saw that there was a PWA event going on in Sydney. I just sort of put it on Sheridan's radar, sort of not saying you should go to this, but just hoping that she would just take it upon herself, and she did. She went, alone to her first wrestling event ever. And I think that was the one where they were having the fight over the house plant custody of the house planter.
There was a contract for custody of a house plant.
And I think that's what sort of won her over. Yeah, like watching Sheridan just like start to really, really love wrestling, and just, sending me stuff that I haven't even like heard before in wrestling. She's really gone down the deep end in the best way.
I think what it is that I'm jealous of the wrestling scene, the way the support, like the wrestling fans are just what a theatre maker would fantasize about what an actual theatre crowd is like. They know the characters, they've been following them for years, they know any chant, they know all the history, and they bring that to shows, and they are there for a live show and are screaming and aching for it, and they're mad if it's not how the story goes in their head. There's just this incredible relationship between performer and audience, and I'm furiously jealous that that isn't how theatre works, where it's so much more conservative. And there's like rules when you enter a theatre that we all secretly know about: when to clap, when to do this, when to do that. All of that abandoned for wrestling. And I just wish theatre was more like wrestling.
Is that sort of something you're trying to bring out of the crowd for the Dubbo Championship Wrestling show?
Yeah, we're really trying to teach the audience to feel like it's a live event. There's lots of chants that the crowd knows, much like any sport game, and we're using the band to be very live, very close to the audience. So it's like the audience and the band are the people of Dubbo or the wrestling fans at the event. So we're really trying to get interaction, vocal interaction, just to relax the audience, to go like, it's not trad music theatre. I think it's got one foot in the door of wrestling, one foot at the Hayes Theatre in Potts Point, where you're going to go see Brigadoon the week after. It's a real attempt to loosen the buttons and enjoy what the experience of a live wrestling show is, definitely.
Yeah, like if I give like a brief summary of the show, it's about this girl who comes back to Dubbo after 10 years away, and is, sort of enlisted into helping her father's independent wrestling promotion, Dubbo Championship Wrestling, on the eve of the big sort of blowout event of the year, very imaginatively titled Double Mania. And basically it's, embroiled in a fight for the survival of the, the family company and the Dubbo way of life, all that sort of thing. But yeah, so the first act, that, what we call it in the theater, that fourth wall is very much in place. But the second act is just Dubbo Mania. You're in the arena, you're in the Dubbo Dome, that fourth wall is gone, and the audience just becomes a full-on wrestling crowd. And that's sort of what we're aiming for to create there.
Okay, so from the sounds of it, it's obviously very inspired by wrestling, but are there other sort of theatre shows or movies or TV shows that sort of people that aren't wrestling fans might sort of look to and go, okay, this is what it's similar to?
Ooh, well, there is that Rocky the musical, which has been a bit of a reference. There was a musical made of Rocky, believe it or not, and where they have a full ring, like we do, thrust into the audience, and you're watching the people box. And that's definitely given us confidence to go, like sports and musicals sort of go together. That's very much a reference. And I think for me, Keating is definitely something to hark back to, of that, how they got it to feel like it was a concert as opposed to a proscenium, fourth wall piece of theatre where you're distantly watching an event. Keating was very much, you were live in the room watching what you're there, you are the audience. How about for you, Dan? What references did you have?
Yeah, like in terms of like influences that are not strictly wrestling, it's big on like I like big stakes in a small stakes world, if that makes sense. Stuff like The Castle, stuff like Waiting for Guffman, or like the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which is a musical. We love that sort of stuff where it's just like, it's not a life or death sort of show. It's like, it's not about, the end of the world. It's about, the fight for a survival of a way of life, and about this small thing, this little blip called Dubbo Championship Wrestling, that in the broader context of the universe, like, doesn't like matter much, but is imbued with so much emotion and meaning by the people that are part of it, that it is the world to them. So it's one of those sort of underdog, small town sort of stories that I really gravitate towards.
Another big reference for me is the movie The Castle. In terms of that, it's people with really big passions, and just a simpler way of life. And what's beautiful about The Castle is we're laughing with them, not at them, when we present a simpler person with a simpler dream. It's really beautiful, and we hearken for this simplicity that they have.
It sounds also very similar to the show on Stan Heels, where it's a small town company with a wrestling promotion that they just want to be the center of their town, sort of.
Oh yes.
So sorry. The noise in the background, they're literally building more of the ring.
No, yeah, I loved Heels. I watched it when it came out. I was like, oh damn, they even called their arena the Dome. I was like, oh geez. No. There are little like small similarities, but it's Dubbo Championship Wrestling. There's nothing really in the world like it, in my opinion. I pretty much consume anything vaguely wrestling related, like, Glow, or just your more niche sort of wrestling documentaries, wrestling essays and books and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's what this show has been for me. And, it's a very eclectic show. I've drawn from all those sources. Like, wrestling fans coming to the show will, see the characters and notice that they're amalgamations of like all these different wrestlers, like different aspects of them. It's not, I don't like shows that sort of, exclude a part of the audience. Like, I don't want anyone to sort of feel left out by little in-jokes or anything, but there are Easter eggs that wrestling fans watching the show will pick up on, nod knowingly, and continue with the show.
Yep. Yeah, so it's a perfect show for wrestling fans, but it's also great for just musical theatre fans in general.
That's the plan.
Professional wrestling and musicals are not exactly two mediums that would immediately spring to mind as, let's pair these together. How did that come about?
Well, I happily disagree now, because I think I would have thought the same. I thought the same at the beginning, but then to me, they're so close to each other. Big storylines, big costumes, big characters, big dreams. Wrestling or music theatre. And I'm like, I can't believe we haven't done a wrestling musical already.
Yeah, I would say that there's, like I said, there's a lot of overlap that you wouldn't necessarily think in the first place. And I know there's a lot of wrestling fans that I would bet are secretly musical theatre fans and they don't even know it, and vice versa. For example, like wrestling fans and musical theatre fans, they're very well practiced at suspending their disbelief. Like the idea that someone's going to break into song, the idea that someone's going to run back at you after you've thrown them into the ropes and get absolutely clobbered by you, is just like, they're okay with all that sort of stuff. Like Sheridan said, it's wrestlers are people that live on the extremes of emotion, much like anyone that you'd want to be able to believably transition into song. People like Mormons, very like energetic, high energy people. That's wrestlers. And also, just it's such a musical art form already. Like, you got the wrestling chants, you've got the entrances. Like, I remember was it like prize balls on display that like I think it was last year at PWA event, when Sam Osborne comes down to the ring to a Rubber Band Man sung by his partner. You were there, Sheridan. It was like, it was I loved that. And it's, yeah, like just music, and music is always such a big part of wrestling that even though it's not something that you'd initially think would go together, it's been quite a easy fit in writing it.
And then how did the actors react when they sort of found out, oh, we're doing a rock musical about wrestling and we're going to have to be in the ring and do some of these moves?
They're pretty keen. Any actor I approached was so excited to do wrestling. And some of our actors started actually training with some people from PWA prior to jump in, and we did a fight workshop once we got our ring, just to see what we can do. And actually, because the thing is, it's got to be different from wrestling, because even wrestlers don't wrestle 8 shows a week, then get up and sing and dance. So it had to be sustainable. And when we tested that out, we found that the actors really wanted to smash each other around and we couldn't stop them. So we just went well in for full wrestling instead of what I thought would be like a lighter version, maybe more comedic, but we're doing it.
Yes, it was sort of less encouragement and more pulling the reins back on them to like calm down a little bit.
Definitely, like, can't do that. She's got to be able to stand up and sing. Can't do that.
Oh man, and yeah, not just some people from PWA, Sheridan. Robbie Eagle's arguably the best wrestler Australia has ever produced.
I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry if I've offended.
The man that held that title.
Yes. Yes, the sniper. I'm sorry. Go
on. So obviously, Sheridan, you've gone to wrestling shows. Have any of the actors and stuff been to wrestling shows since joining the cast as well?
Yeah, they definitely have. But also it's brought out all the secret fans as well, like, and especially the male actors will just go, oh yeah, and then when the Undertaker did this and rah, 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 like the deep, it's the thing with wrestling, there's this deep embedded knowledge that I think people know more about wrestling than they do about any football code. It's just all seeped into the back psyche of a lot of, teenage boys. And now we've been dragging the girls into it as well. Yeah, there was already quite a bit of knowledge.
Yeah, I know Zoe at the very least will be at the Metro tonight. We're recording this on the day of King of the Metro, but I think she was trying to organize a bit more of a group expedition. So yeah.
Oh,
maybe.
I'll be there.
Oh, so will I. Awesome.
I'm the only one here who won't be there. I'm in isolation, hence the hyperbolic time chamber you see behind me.
So is there hope that this show will introduce sort of 2 separate audiences to 2 different worlds and forms of entertainment?
It's definitely a fantasy. It's definitely like, it's a hard game though, because they're 2 crowds who want really different things from a live experience. And I think Dan has been really clever in trying to fulfill the 2 parts of, his beloved love of musicals and love of wrestling. I think he's tried to leave Easter eggs for both camps. But it's a funny thing of going, theaters then, musicals do happen in theater spaces where you'll never get a wrestling fan. You're not going to get a wrestling fan looking at a website that happens to advertise a wrestling musical. So appealing to that camp is it's a challenge. And we're doing sort of an experiment to go, how can we grab their attention to go, yes, this is a musical. This might not be your flavor, but you're going to love what's in it. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, like that's sort of our hopes with it, is that, instead of turning away both fan bases, bring them together. That I was saying, like, a lot of Australian wrestling promotions and just wrestlers in general these days, it's just like, it's a really good attitude of this sort of rising tide raises all ships, like, just trying to, make the Australian wrestling scene bigger and better, bring more people to it. And yeah, we think this would be a great way to, just hit a new demographic and just, open, the eyes of people in both camps that, oh, hang on, this is something that I could really, really enjoy. But, at the end of the day, they just want to, like musical theater fans, wrestling fans, they just want to be told a really good story. And that is at the end of the day what Dubbo Championship Wrestling is.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited for this show now. I think I'm like kind of the perfect target audience. I love musical theater and I love wrestling. I was like, oh, this show's right up my alley as soon as I saw it.
Such a crossover, man. There's a whole, I think, posse that we're finding.
Yeah, like I adored Hamilton and I love my wrestling, so I'm definitely very keen to see the show and excited for everything you guys have created.
That's awesome.
Where is the best place for people to get tickets for Dubbo Championship Wrestling?
They can go to the Hayes Theatre website, which is HAYES, Hayes Theatre, which is in Potts Point. And then we're going at the end of that season to Parramatta Riverside. So we're going out west. They can go to the Parramatta Riverside website.
Brilliant.
And then their socials, I think, are just official Hayes Theatre Co. And that's where you get all this sort of little updates and pictures from rehearsals and all that sort of fun stuff. So also, if I can just plug, we have, for anyone who's a bit skeptical about a wrestling musical, we do have a concept album out on Spotify. If you just type, or Spotify, YouTube, any sort of streaming platform, if you just type in Dubbo Championship Wrestling, you can listen to, the sizzle reel, 10 of our favorite songs from the show, see what you think. And if you like the vibe of it, come on down.
Oh, perfect. I know what's my soundtrack for the trip to PWA this afternoon.
Sounds good.
And then finally, where is the best place for people to support both of you and track your creative journeys moving forward?
I'm everywhere. I have a website, but yeah, Instagram is a good place to keep up with what I'm up to.
Don't even like my Instagram is just like my Instagram is just me shit posting like little creator characters I've made on like various wrestling video games. Don't even go there. Just buy tickets to the show. The show and I are interchangeable. We're the same thing at this point. So support Double Championship Wrestling. That's the best thing you can do for yours truly.
Perfect. Thank you both for taking the time and good luck with the show.
See you tonight.
Yes.
Thanks, Tammy.